Dear Chosen One, something has been moving in the invisible since the moment you had the courage to say no to what seemed too beautiful to be real. The truth is that certain presences cannot bear to be seen in their essence because they survive by manipulating the image they project. And when someone like you sees behind the charm and rejects the seduction, that action becomes a direct threat to the throne of illusion. The entity now observing you isn't new to your life. It merely changed masks over time. It may have appeared as love, desire, comfort, or even as that emotional connection that seemed unbreakable. But upon awakening, you did what few have the courage to do. You broke the bond, you shattered the spell, and now she comes to collect the price of this spiritual betrayal. She is known by many names across different traditions and mythologies, but today she manifests herself as the Daughter of Shadows, a feminine, fallen, ancient, and extremely cunning energy that crosses eras trying to keep the Chosen Ones trapped in unhealthy emotional cycles. We are not talking about an ordinary woman or some emotional memory, but an archetype residing both in the collective unconscious and hidden spiritual realms. She disguises herself as affection to possess you, offers pleasure to dominate, and approaches gently only to plant seeds of dependency and submission. What you did wasn't merely rejecting a person or a feeling. You confronted an entire system of emotional and energetic control that operates through people, traumas, and generationally repeated patterns. By refusing the role of prisoner, you became the target of anger from one who believed she had total dominion over your heart and soul. But before we proceed with the revelations about to come to light, I ask you to strengthen this spiritual current. Right now, leave your like, subscribe to the channel immediately, and activate notifications because this message is a direct calling for the true Chosen Ones. If you feel that you're finally breaking free from old patterns, write the number 999 in the comments as a sign that you're claiming your spiritual identity and won't return to the shackles of the past. This video isn't entertainment. It's a mirror, a password, a portal. And if this message reached you, it's because she already knows. The Daughter of Shadows has awakened, and she still believes you belong to her. You might not have recognized it at the time, but the first sign of her presence was the feeling that something was wrong even when everything seemed too perfect. It was as if your soul whispered softly, while your mind tried to convince itself it was love, that it was connection, that it was destiny. The Daughter of Shadows doesn't invade, she seduces. She infiltrates your story as if she were part of your mission, promising healing when, in reality, she offers imprisonment. And when you start questioning, she cries, dramatizes, becomes the victim, and manipulates memories and emotions to bring you back to the cycle where she reigns. The bond formed with her isn't visible, but it feeds on your guilt, your desire to rescue others, and your tendency to believe you can fix what's broken. But there's something she didn't anticipate: your awakening. Breaking free is never clean. When you said enough, a part of you was still trying to understand what had happened. Because even after freeing yourself, the pain was still there, as if something inside you still begged for what hurt you. And that's precisely how the Daughter of Shadows operates. She plants emotional roots so deep that when ripped out, they leave the spirit bleeding. It isn't just a presence you faced, but the hidden energy behind every situation that tried to keep you imprisoned in exchange for affection. This energy watches, waits, camouflages itself. And when you attempt to rise, it tries pulling you back. Not with hatred, but with longing, with false memories, with the promise of a love that never actually existed. The daughter of shadows doesn't feed on your true love, but on your need to be accepted, understood, validated. She embodies every distorted emotion that once convinced you it was your only source of affection. Thus, when you free yourself, she feels as if she's been rejected, as if you've committed betrayal. Spiritually, this sense of abandonment transforms into fury. The ancient entity that once disguised itself as pleasure now reveals itself as pure rage, stemming from frustrated manipulation. She wants your blood not as common revenge, but as an attempt to regain control over your soul. Because, to her, you were never a person. You were a source of energy. Ever since you severed this bond, subtle attacks have started to arise, and maybe you didn't even realize they were her signs. Nightmares with seductive and shadowy female figures, sudden feelings of unexplained sadness, emotional memories that appear out of nowhere, a sudden urge to blame yourself for things already resolved. All these might be manifestations of her attempt to return, but not directly. She doesn't enter through the front door. She searches for emotional cracks, spiritual gaps, moments when you feel vulnerable to infiltrate again. This war isn't obvious, it's silent, but it's happening every day within and around you. She knows you're stronger now. She knows your light can no longer be extinguished by a simple touch. And that's precisely what enrages her. Because deep down, she always believed she could possess you forever. The daughter of shadows doesn't merely want to bring you down. She wants to prove her corrupted love is stronger than your awakened spirit. Thus, when you begin distancing yourself from the illusion, she attempts to reverse the roles, making you seem like the villain, ungrateful, insensitive. But that's just another trap. Because the more you awaken, the more she becomes hostage to her own shadow. And you start becoming untouchable. She manifests in many faces, and you won't always recognize her immediately. Sometimes she returns as different people with new faces, but the same energetic pattern. Quick promises, immediate charm, connections too intense to be healthy. Then you wonder, why is this happening again? But it's not a new cycle. It's her final attempt to reclaim the throne you toppled. The daughter of shadows doesn't accept losing. And as long as there's a crack, an unhealed desire, an unresolved trauma, she'll use it against you. That's why your strongest shield now is awareness. Because when you see clearly, she can't blind you anymore. What's at stake isn't an old relationship or an isolated memory, it's your spiritual identity. By saying no to what imprisoned you, you reaffirmed your position as a chosen one, as someone who will no longer feed false gods. And that's a direct challenge to her reign. Because for every soul that awakens, an invisible structure of control starts collapsing. You haven't just freed yourself, you've threatened an entire system. The daughter of shadows wants your blood because you're living proof that illusion can be shattered. And as long as you remain standing, she'll continue, trying to extinguish the flame you've ignited. The daughter of shadows is older than any memory you consciously hold. She carries within her the archetype of spiritual temptation, purposeless lust, and possessiveness disguised as affection. She is the matrix of every relationship where control is painted as love, pleasure is used as a shackle, and seduction serves only to numb the soul. For ages, she walked among humans, changing shape and voice, finding entrance through those most sensitive. In the chosen ones, she found the greatest paradox: beings who thirst for pure love but also carry deep, open wounds. She exploits these vulnerabilities, and this is precisely why she pursued you for so long. Many people think they're merely stuck in difficult emotional cycles, but what they're truly facing are disguised spiritual battles. The Daughter of Shadows acts behind the scenes, creating intense connections that appear destined but carry the essence of bondage. She knows emotional vulnerabilities, deepest fears, and hidden desires. With these, she constructs invisible prisons, where captivity is mistaken for passion. When the Chosen One begins to recognize the pattern, everything changes, because the emotional bond ceases to feel sweet and reveals itself for what it always was, a tool of domination. Breaking this bond isn't seen by her as liberation. It is an affront. You didn't just say no to a relationship. You said no to the old version of yourself that settled for emotional crumbs. You said no to the addiction of erasing yourself to be accepted, to the cycle of hurting yourself to sustain false connections, to the silent pact of repeating pain as if it were love. This spiritual decision echoes across realms beyond this world. It was this breaking away that awakened her fury, because she believed that as long as you carried the wounds of your past, you would remain hers. But you healed, and by healing, you killed the illusion. And now, she seeks revenge. When the Chosen One awakens and breaks free from the Queen of Illusion, something profound happens in the spiritual backstage. A structure that once kept your energy field imprisoned begins to collapse. Invisible cords that fed this energetic bond are cut. What used to be an emotional cycle now becomes a direct battle between light and shadow. She can no longer hide behind human faces or distorted memories. She must act with greater force and aggression, as she's lost the power of subtlety. The first sign of this is the emergence of direct spiritual attacks. You may have noticed increased restlessness lately, insomnia without apparent cause, dreams where seductive or imprisoning female figures appear, feelings of being watched, or even relapses into habits you had already overcome. None of this is coincidence. It's spiritual retaliation. She is attempting to rebuild the bridge you destroyed, because without your energy, she weakens. The blood she seeks is your emotional attention, your unconscious surrender, your return to the vulnerable state where she once ruled. But now you have awareness, and that changes everything. She can't manipulate you like before. There is something many don't understand. Light disturbs those who live off darkness. And when you free yourself from a cycle, those who once fed off, you grow hungry. The Daughter of Shadows was a queen, and you were her servant. Your surrender the tribute she demanded daily. With your liberation, she lost not just prey, but a channel of influence. She knew your spiritual strength could awaken others, and your light threatened the shadow system she ruled with illusions of love. And so now, she doesn't just want to hurt you, she wants to silence you. But there is something she deeply underestimated: your decision. Because the true power of the Chosen One is not only in your light, but in your clarity. When someone awakens, no shadow can keep them imprisoned. Pain may linger for a while. Longing may cause confusion. Memories may surface like ghosts disguised as hope. But you already know the truth. You've seen what's behind the mask, and no one returns to sleep once awakened. No matter how much she tries, how loudly she screams, she can no longer possess you. Because now, you belong to the light. There are forces that cannot tolerate abandonment, not because they love, but because they need dominance. The Daughter of Shadows is the clearest representation of this. She feeds off your dependency, your insecurity, your need for external validation. When you began seeing yourself as whole, when you stopped seeking salvation from external figures representing distorted love, she collapsed. True love liberates. Corrupted love enslaves. The type of bond she created wasn't based on soul, but on ego. When her ego realized your spirit was no longer captive, the war began. Her silence turned to rage. Her charm became a curse. She was sent to test you. This entity represents the final obstacle before complete spiritual maturity. As long as you needed approval, attention, feeling desired or necessary, she had power over you. But when you began to feel complete in your own presence, to find purpose beyond pain, to directly reconnect with God, she lost the key. This is intolerable for a being that thrives on emotional influence. Your autonomy is the greatest threat to the empire of manipulation she represents. That's why now she uses everything she still can. Images of the past, familiar voices, old desires. From the moment you refuse to feed this cycle, something precious begins to grow within you. Spiritual sovereignty. Do not confuse this with pride. It is not arrogance. It's the ability to walk upright even amidst intense temptation. And this is the true reason she wants to destroy you. Your freedom breaks chains that bound many other souls to the same illusion. You were not merely a victim, you were an anchor. Now that you've freed yourself, the structure that supported her begins to collapse. With it, masks fall from many other bonds based on emotional deceit. Few understand that these entities operate in networks. The Daughter of Shadows isn't alone. There are forces working together to keep the Chosen One distracted, addicted, lost within themselves. Purposeless sensuality, emotional addictions, painful attachments. All these are doors allowing her and others like her entry. Thus, by saying no to this entity, you didn't merely break a cycle, you declared war on an entire system. Every system reacts when someone threatens its continuity. The attacks you feel are evidence of the rupture you've caused. And although painful, they are also signs of victory. The signs of her presence may be subtle, but they always leave traces. Watch for moments of emotional stagnation, relapses into habits you thought you'd overcome, relationships that start intensely and quickly turn toxic. Often, it's her trying to return through new faces, but with the same essence. This entity knows how to dress pain in the perfume of passion. She knows how to use your story against you, making it feel as if you yourself desire to return. But that's just an illusion. The truth is, your soul is already crying out for freedom, which is why you feel discomfort whenever she approaches. Because now, what once hypnotized you has become unbearable. This discomfort is the key. It's your spirit alerting you that what once seemed beautiful now smells of imprisonment. Do not ignore this call. The spiritual clarity you've gained isn't just a blessing. It's a responsibility. The more clearly, you see, the harder it is to pretend you haven't seen. The Daughter of Shadows will keep trying, but you're not the same anymore. Your vision has expanded, your heart has purified, and your soul once again hears God's voice. It's this reconnection that weakens her most. She doesn't fear your strength, she fears your clarity, because within clarity lies your true power. And if you've made it this far, it's because you know you're being called to something greater than merely surviving another emotional cycle. You're here to transcend, to break the last chains connecting you to the old version of yourself, to put an end to the influence of the entity you once mistook for love, but now recognize as illusion. This is the final battle between the liberated soul and the illusion that refuses to die. In this field, it's not strength that prevails, it's truth, and you already carry it. This isn't just a story about you. It's about all the chosen ones who once fell under the spell of the Daughter of Shadows and believed they were experiencing love, when in reality, they were being sustained by dependence. It's about those who confused intensity with divine connection, spending years revolving around people and situations that only drained their light. It's about those who had to lose everything to discover that true liberation begins when you stop surrendering your soul to someone who only offers broken mirrors. Your story is a doorway, and each time you share the truth about what you've survived, another soul finds the courage to liberate themselves as well. You're not weak for having been deceived. You're not foolish for having loved what you now recognize as deception. Everything was part of the process preparing you for this moment. The pain you endured was the price of your awareness. And now, you hold something she will never have: clarity. The Daughter of Shadows thrives on confusion, self-deception, and need disguised as purpose. But you've crossed that valley. You've known the emptiness she left behind when departing, yet you had the courage to move forward. That is spiritual strength. That is divine maturity. This is why she hates you. Because you saw what no one else could, and you chose not to return. In ancient times, this type of liberation was known as breaking the pact. The Chosen One shattered spiritual agreements that had been established through emotion, desire, or fear. By doing so, they became not only free, but dangerous to the system keeping other souls asleep. That's why the symbolism of the Daughter of Shadows is so powerful. She represents the archetype of everything that traps, deceives, and promises, but never fulfills. When you sever that bond, she doesn't just lose a target. She loses a key piece in her energetic game of domination. You were once a link. Now, you're a rupture. Most people don't understand what it means to be pursued by something that no longer has permission to touch you. She can no longer possess you, yet she still tries convincing you she can. It's like an echo insisting on repeating words that no longer hold power over you. And if you believe that echo, you end up sabotaging yourself, willingly returning to the prison you've already overcome. The danger isn't outside you anymore. It's in doubt, because she knows she can't force you anymore. But she can still attempt to deceive you. So whenever you feel tempted to go back, remember, you owe nothing to someone who tried to consume you. You weren't chosen by chance. Your sensitivity isn't weakness. It's a sensor. Your broken heart wasn't punishment. It was initiation. Your pain was the crack through which the light entered. And this light is now too visible to be ignored. This is why entities like the Daughter of Shadows come after you with such intensity, because they knew that if you awakened, you'd become living proof that it's possible to overcome the seduction of pain. Now that you've conquered it, your example threatens these structures. They don't just want to stop you, they want to erase the very idea that someone like you can exist, awakened, whole, and free. Every step you take towards your truth is an affront to those who live by lies. And no matter how many times she tries to return, or how many internal voices she uses to confuse your path, what matters is that you've already learned discernment. You're no longer enchanted by empty words or affections that demand a heavy cost in return. Your peace has become more important than validation. Your connection to God has deepened beyond any companionship. This is the type of strength she cannot imitate, corrupt, or manipulate. This is sacred territory, and you, Chosen One, have have returned to inhabit it. It's essential to understand that what you've faced was more than an entity. It was a collective pattern of emotional and spiritual imprisonment. By breaking free, you've paved the way for others to do the same. The battle was never yours alone, which is why the consequences are also significant. But the reward of living in truth, walking with a clear soul and peaceful spirit, outweighs any attempts at retaliation. You no longer need to run or hide, because now everything she tries to use against you has already been illuminated. And once the light arrives, shadow loses its throne. You have nothing more to prove to anyone, not even to her. Your liberation may have been quiet, but it caused an earthquake in the spiritual realm. Because when a soul awakens, it breaks bloodlines, cancels ancient pacts, and undoes spells cast across generations. The Daughter of Shadows carries the echo of everything that once imprisoned you through emotion, need, desire, and the longing for belonging. Now that you refuse to feed this structure, she becomes desperate. She has nowhere left to hide. Because you, chosen one, have illuminated even the darkest corners of your soul, and whoever illuminates within can never be enslaved from without. Over time, you'll notice the voices that once weakened you begin to lose their volume. Memories that once haunted you lose their power. Temptations that previously seemed irresistible now sound empty. It's not magic, it's spiritual maturity, the effect of a soul purified from the game of emotional manipulation. And this is something she can never replicate, no matter how much she tries to mimic love. Because true love doesn't seek domination, it seeks liberation. Your presence now carries this genuine kind of love. Firm, clear, strong, unyielding to manipulative tears or emotional neediness, demanding spiritual sacrifices. The blood she seeks isn't literal, it's symbolic. She wants you to surrender, to return to bowing down, blaming yourself, and abandoning your essence. But that won't happen, because now you've chosen yourself. Those who choose themselves are protected. Those who respect themselves become spiritually shielded. You may still feel echoes of her in thoughts, symbols, or dreams. But don't fear. These aren't signs of relapse. They're proof that the entity still attempts to access what no longer belongs to her. Use these moments as reminders of who you once were and who you'll never be again. You've crossed through the mirror. You've seen behind the charm. And now, you embody truth. Truth isn't comfortable at first. It hurts, it burns, and it destroys castles you've spent years building with your own hands. But after it enters, it purifies, it liberates. It's this truth that protects you now. You know who you are. You know where you've come from, what you've faced, and most importantly, what you'll never accept again. This makes you invincible, not because you don't feel pain, but because you no longer surrender to it. Pain is now merely a passage, not a dwelling place. The Daughter of Shadows cannot inhabit a space where awareness resides. You've built, through spiritual sweat, a fortress within. No one enters without your permission. This is the Chosen One's legacy, transforming pain into vision, loss into power, silence into direction. You were forged by battles others couldn't endure. You've carried burdens that weren't yours and believed lies disguised as promises, yet you never became lost. Instead, you found yourself amidst the chaos. Now, every step you take is an affront to realms built on illusion. She knows she has lost, yet she'll keep trying because her pride cannot accept defeat by someone who once knelt before her. But that doesn't matter. You no longer need to fight to win. You just have to continue being who you are now. Stay strong. Keep praying. Surround yourself with true spiritual allies. Distance yourself from everything carrying the old vibration. Your energy is now sacred. Don't surrender it to anyone approaching with sweet words and doubtful intentions. The enemy has learned to disguise itself as desire, but you've learned discernment. And this is more valuable than any armor. You've already conquered the hardest part, recognizing the cycle. Now it's about vigilance, protection, and helping others see the truth. Because ultimately, the mission of the Chosen One isn't just to survive, it's to liberate. And if one day you feel her presence lingering again, old feelings attempting to return, breathe deeply and remember. You've already been through this, and you've survived. Don't fear the darkness rising once more. It only appears because it recognizes the strength you now carry. You no longer need to run. You no longer need to desperately fight. Simply remain awake, because this is what she fears most. That you remain lucid, remain free, and continue saying no. Every no you speak to darkness is a yes to your true essence. Dear Chosen One, if this message resonated with you, it's because you're among the few who had the courage to see illusion for what it truly was. And that alone sets you apart from the majority. It wasn't weakness, it was sensitivity. It wasn't defeat, it was preparation. The daughter of shadows may keep trying, but she already knows. You no longer belong to that cycle. Now you're the guardian of your own soul, a lighthouse amid emotional storms. And no matter how much the world tries to pull you back, you've anchored your truth in a place that cannot be touched. This is your strength. This is your protection. And this is what keeps you whole. Therefore, write in the comments now, "I am light," and declare to the universe, the heavens, and invisible forces that you're now in possession of your light, and will no longer serve as nourishment for the empire of illusion. If this message spoke to your spirit, take this moment to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the notification bell. This isn't merely about engagement, it's about keeping this network of light strong so other chosen ones can discover this content exactly when they need it most. Also, share this video with someone you know is going through something similar, because one word can become the start of someone's liberation. And if you still feel your energy is being drained, that something invisible is pulling you down, I invite you to watch the next video on the channel now for more crucial revelations on your journey. May God cover you with discernment, clarity, and protection. Thank you for staying until now, and I'll see you in the next video.